My mother-in-law had been sending anonymous messages to my boss and my in-laws, inventing lies about me to destroy my marriage for 2 years. When we confronted her, she denied everything. But my husband had already traced every message back to her phone. There are enemies who sleep in your guest room, who sit at your table at Christmas, who hug you when they arrive, and when they leave with the warmth of someone who loves you, and who, while they are hugging you, are calculating their next move. I had one for 2 years without knowing it. I called her by her name. I bought her gifts on her birthday. I sent her photos from vacations. I asked for her recipes because I genuinely liked the way she cooked. And she, meanwhile, had spent 2 years quietly building the destruction of everything I had built. Not out of abstract malice, out of conviction. She believed, with the certainty of someone who has never questioned their own judgments, that her son deserved something better than me. And she had decided that if I did not leave on my own, she would help me leave. My name is Renata. I am 36 years old. I'm a project manager at an educational technology company, and I have been married for 4 years to a man named Matteo, who is the most honest person I know and whose honesty was, in the end, what brought everything to light. Matteo's mother's name is Graciela. She is 62 years old. She is a retired piano teacher. She lives 40 minutes from us. She has the kind of presence that fills rooms without making noise. She is elegant. She is intelligent. She knows exactly what to say in every situation to come across well. That skill for knowing exactly what to say, I learned too late, had another side. She also knew exactly what to say to cause harm without appearing to be causing it. The first sign came 18 months ago. My boss called me into his office for a conversation he described as a follow-up, and that from the beginning had an energy I did not recognize as a follow-up to anything I'd done. He asked me, with the discomfort of someone asking a question they do not want to ask, whether there was anything in my personal situation that was affecting my work, whether there were conflicts that could create problems for the company, whether I was okay. I told him yes, that I was fine, that I did not know what he was referring to. He told me he had received an anonymous message from a disposable email account suggesting I was going through an unstable personal situation that could represent a risk for the projects I managed. That he did not automatically give credibility to anonymous messages, but that his obligation was to ask me directly. I told him there was no unstable situation, that I was fine, that I appreciated him telling me directly. I left that office with a discomfort I did not yet know how to name. The first thing I thought was a colleague with whom I had had some friction months earlier over a project. It was the most obvious explanation, and I looked for it with the disposition of someone who wants to find a reassuring explanation to avoid having to consider the less reassuring ones. I found nothing that pointed to her. I stored it in the place where we keep things we do not know how to resolve, and moved on. The second sign came 3 months later. Matteo's sister-in-law, who is the wife of his younger brother, and with whom I have a cordial though not close relationship, found me at a family gathering and asked me, with a delicacy I interpreted at the time as kindness, whether Matteo and I were okay. I told her yes, and asked why she was asking. She told me she had heard something, that she did not want to get me in trouble, but that someone had mentioned to her that I had behaviors at home that were hard on Matteo, that she wanted me to know that if I needed to talk to someone I could trust, she was there. I left that conversation with the feeling of standing on a floor that was moving slightly, but that I could not see moving. That night, I told Matteo. Matteo took a moment to respond. He asked me if I remembered who had told something to his sister-in-law. I told him I did not know for certain, that she had been vague. He told me he wanted to talk to his brother. What his brother told him when they talked was that someone had called his wife directly. A call from a number his sister-in-law did not recognize. A woman's voice saying she knew the family and was concerned about Matteo. The call had lasted 15 minutes. Matteo did not say anything yet, but I saw him change something in the way he was present in the weeks that followed. A new attentiveness, an observation that had not been there before. 3 weeks later, he asked me if he could check something on his mom's phone the next time we visited. I asked him why. He told me he had a hunch he hoped he was wrong to have. Matteo is a software engineer. He is not the kind of person who has hunches without evidence. He is the kind of person who, when he has a hunch, has already processed enough information to know it is not just intuition. He told me what he had been thinking. The two events, the message to my boss and the call to his sister-in-law, had characteristics in common. They were anonymous or from an unidentified source. They contained information that only someone close to our life could know. They were designed to create doubt about me in people who mattered to me or who could affect my professional life. Someone who knew us well was doing this deliberately and consistently. The list of people who could have that information and that motivation was not long. The visit to Graciela was an ordinary Sunday. Family lunch, normal conversation. Mateo helped his mom with something in the kitchen, and at some point, I did not see exactly he had access to her phone for long enough to do what he needed to do. Mateo is meticulous. What he found confirmed it and exceeded it at the same time. On Graciela's phone, there was an email application connected to an account that was not her usual personal email. It was an account created specifically to send anonymous messages. In that account's sent history, there were 22 messages sent over the previous 2 years. 22. To my boss, to the sister-in-law, to two of my friends whose emails Graciela had obtained somehow, to one of Mateo's aunts who lived in another city, to the mother of a friend of mine who was also a family acquaintance. 22 messages built with the skill of someone who knows the people she is writing to and who knows exactly what angle to use with each one. With my boss, concern about my emotional stability and its possible impact on work. With Mateo's family, concern about his well-being, with invented details about behaviors of mine at home. With my friends, insinuations about aspects of my character that Mateo had supposedly confided to her in difficult moments. 2 years, 22 messages, a campaign built with patience and with the specific knowledge of who was who in our life and what would cause the most damage with each person. Mateo took screenshots of everything. He did not tell me that day. He told me that night when we got home, sitting at the kitchen table with the screenshots open on his computer. I looked at him first. Before looking at the screenshots, I wanted to see his face, and what I saw on his face was something I will not forget. It was the expression of a man who has just confirmed something he had desperately hoped was not true and who is simultaneously processing the betrayal and the pain and the decision of what to do with what he knows. He told me he was sorry. I told him he had nothing to be sorry about. We decided together how to proceed, not in anger. With the coldness of two people who know the conversation coming is the hardest one they will have in their marriage, and who need to have it in the right way, so it produces something real instead of just pain. We sent Graciela a message asking her to come to the house that week, without giving her details. She arrived on Wednesday. Mateo opened the conversation. He told her there was something they needed to talk to her about, and that it was important she know that what they were going to show her had been verified and that there was no alternative interpretation. Graciela maintained the composure of someone who has had time to prepare for many situations because she has spent 62 years being intelligent in difficult rooms. Mateo opened the computer. He showed her the screenshots. What followed was one of the strangest things I have experienced in my life. Graciela looked at the screenshots for a time, and then she did something I did not expect. She did not deny it, not immediately. What she did was look at both of us and say, with a calm that was in itself disorienting, that she had done what she had done because she wanted the best for her son. That from the beginning she had had doubts about whether I was the right person for him. That she had not said anything directly because she knew Mateo would not receive it well. That she had thought that if the right people had the right information, things would resolve themselves. She said it the way someone explains a reasonable decision made with good information, without apologizing, without acknowledging that what she had done had a name, and that name was sustained manipulation over 2 years. Mateo responded to her. I'm not going to reproduce everything he said because it was his, and it was private, and it was the hardest conversation I have seen him have. The essential was this. He told her that what she had done was not loving him. That loving him meant respecting the decisions he made about his own life. That he had chosen Renata. That choice was his and no one else's. That 2 years of anonymous messages designed to destroy his marriage were not an act of maternal love. They were a betrayal. Of him, not only of me. He told her he needed time to process what he had discovered. That in the meantime, he needed her to understand there would be no contact until there was a real conversation about what she had done and about what she was prepared to do to repair it. Graciela left without saying much more. The months that followed were complicated in a way that has no simple description. Mateo went through a grief that is unlike any other loss. The grief of discovering that a person who genuinely loves you can cause you genuine harm at the same time. That love and manipulation can coexist in the same person without one canceling out the other. I went through something different. The process of understanding the real extent of the damage. How many people had received those messages? What they had believed? What had changed in how they saw me without my knowing? We spoke with the people we could identify. My boss, when I explained the situation with the evidence we had, was more understanding than I expected. He told me the message had generated a doubt he had never expressed openly, but that with what he now knew he could close. Mateo's sister-in-law was the one who surprised me most. She apologized to me. She told me she had believed what she was told because it came from someone she trusted and that she regretted having given credence to something without verifying. With some of the other people, we did not have that conversation. Not every situation made it possible or necessary. With Graciela, the process took 8 months. There was no reconciliation with fireworks. There was no moment where everything was resolved and everyone was fine. What there was a series of conversations, some with a family therapist who helped us structure them, where Graciela gradually processed the difference between what she thought she had been doing and what she had actually been doing. I do not know if she fully understood it. I am honest about that. What I do know is that the contact we have now is different. It has a distance that did not exist before, a clarity about boundaries that also did not exist before. Mateo manages his relationship with her in a way that has more structure and more awareness than before. I see her at the family gatherings that are unavoidable, and I treat her with the cordiality of someone who has decided she is not going to carry active hatred, but who is also not going to pretend nothing happened. It is an imperfect balance, but it is honest. What I want you to take from this story has 2 parts. The first is practical. If you start receiving signals that people in your life have an image of you that does not correspond with who you are, and that image reach them in a way you cannot trace, do not dismiss it as paranoia. Patterns matter. 2 or 3 similar events within a period of time, involving different people, containing information that only someone in your close circle could know, are not coincidence. They're a campaign, and campaigns have an origin. The second is deeper. Love that controls is not love, even if the person exercising it is convinced that it is. A mother who loves her son respects his choices, even when she does not share them. A person who genuinely wants your well-being does not secretly build the destruction of your life. That has a name, and recognizing it, even though it hurts, is the first step toward protecting yourself from it. If this story shook you, comment. Would you suspect your mother-in-law, or would it be the last thing you would imagine? Like if you believe love does not justify manipulation. Subscribe for more real stories. Share with someone going through a difficult relationship with their in-laws. Practical tip. If you receive anonymous messages or negative information about someone close from an unverified source, before acting on that information, ask the person involved directly. Anonymous messages are designed to make you act without verifying. Verifying is always the right response.